And next year, 2024, and I've been talking about this for a long time, 2024 is when we finally make the breakthrough to the truth net. A triple entry accounting, right, which is what a blockchain is, disrupts the trust industry. We no longer have to pay the Medicis or the Morgans or the Rothschilds to make sure that the ledgers match, because we have a third ledger that says Mark lent Lark $100. And I can't go change it. You can't go change it.
Mm-hmm.
It is permanent, immutable truth. And truth beats trust.
Mark Yusko, a renowned hedge fund manager, longtime cryptocurrency bull, and the founder of Morgan Creek Capital Investments, believes something really revolutionary is happening next year. According to Yusko, 2024 will mark the beginning of the end for the traditional financial sector, which has for hundreds of years exploited the many to fulfill the greed of the few. In a recent interview with Lark Davis, Yusko describes the traditional financial system as the trust system, where customers are forced to blindly trust a system that has repeatedly proven itself to be completely untrustworthy. Yusko believes this treacherous system will be replaced by the truth system of blockchain technology, for which no trust is needed and the truth can easily be verified by everyone, anywhere and anytime. According to the popular hedge fund manager, the death of the trust system will be an awesome event, not just for cryptocurrency investors, but also for everyone who has continuously been hoodwinked by the treacherous custodians of the trust system. That's why Yusko recommends Bitcoin for everyone, a recommendation he has been making for several years now. In 2019, while being interviewed on CNBC, Yusko passionately urged the hosts of CNBC's Fast Money to just buy Bitcoin, despite their obvious distrust of the leading crypto asset. During the interview, Yusko said investors should not let the day-to-day fluctuations of Bitcoin deter them from investing in the valuable cryptocurrency. Buy it, he urged. Price doesn't matter. It's been 4 years and Yusko is still emphasizing the importance of investing in the leading cryptocurrency asset. During the interview with Davis, Yusko describes Bitcoin as a diversifying asset supported by the largest, most secure network in the history of mankind. He adds that the Bitcoin network is 1,500 times more powerful than the CERN supercomputer, which is the world's second most powerful computer network. Yusko also talks about the importance of dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and the 100% certainty that the leading cryptocurrency will forever remain extremely valuable, just like every other huge technological advancement before it. But the main highlight of the interview is Yusko's predictions about the replacement of the trust system with the more reassuring truth system. We will now bring you clips from the fascinating and informative discussion. But before we do, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
So for years, I had talked about money as an asset that exists in the absence of a liability. And there's only been one in the history of the world, and that's gold. We tried a couple other things, but gold is really the one. Everything else on top of it, right? Gold is the base layer of money. Everything on top of it is debt or currency. We use it as a medium of exchange, but it's not money. It's a currency, and it's backed by debt. Gold is an asset that exists in the absence of a liability. And that gold was at the root of money and at the root of discovery of banking. And I always used to give the Medicis credit, but there was a little piece of the story that I just learned about on this vacation to Portugal. So I'd always told the story that the Medicis, 800 years ago, borrowed, AKA stole, right? Picasso said, good artists borrow, great artists steal. Stole this idea from these monks to do fractional reserve banking. And they and the Rothschilds and the Morgans have run that, organization for all these years. Well, they said, no. Those monks were the Knights Templar, the Order of Christ, here in Portugal. And the reason is they had all the gold from all the other knights who would go off on their expeditions, and some of them didn't come back. Like, what should we do with all this gold? Hey, let's lend it to other people who want to go do something, and we'll charge interest. And they invented fractional reserve banking. And then the Medicis borrowed it and created dual entry accounting. Because here's the crazy thing. In the olden days, I lent you money, right? And I wrote down in the book, my book, I was the money lender. I wrote down in my book, Lark owes me $100. And you come back to pay me, or Florence back then, and you come back to pay me 110. But I'm an unscrupulous guy, Lark, and I wrote down 200. And you're like, no, I only borrowed 100. It says right here in the book, You had to
Yep.
trust me, and I'm just not worth your trust. So you were out of luck. So the Medici said, no, no, no. Lark, you keep a book. Mark, you keep a book, and we, the benevolent Medicis, for a small fee, will make sure that the books match. But here's the problem. The Medicis were kind of dicey. And I would go to them and say, you know what? I'm going to change my book to 200. I'll give you half. So Lark pays 200, you get 50, I make 150. Done. Awesome. So I could cook the books. And that had been going on for years, right? Here's a crazy stat. The fines paid by the global banking system, the fines paid, okay, equal the market cap of Bitcoin.
That's a crazy number. That's a crazy number.
A crazy stat. And that's for money laundering and stealing and spoofing and all the bad things they've done. Because it was a system built on trust. But trust can be violated. Well, now,
and it frequently is.
It frequently is. What blockchain does, what Bitcoin does, it replaces trust with truth. And next year, 2024, and I've been talking about this for a long time, 2024 is when we finally make the breakthrough to the truth net, right? We had the internet, which busted the monopoly of the state-owned media that had control of information, because now we could access all information anywhere, anytime. Well, then the mobile net came along, and these things came along, and then commerce and media got disrupted because now if I want the news, I don't have to wait for the New York Times to send a reporter to Buenos Aires to write a story. I can watch, a Periscope on Twitter and see people stand in the rain chanting Macri's name and know the dude's going to win. Mm-hmm. So it changed all of that and disrupted that.
Over the past year, Yusko has repeatedly spoken about how the custodians of the trust system have relentlessly tried to sabotage the truth system. In many of his previous interviews, he uses a famous quote to analyze the phases of their reaction to the cryptocurrency industry. The saying goes thus: first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. According to Yusko, the traditional banking sector spent years ignoring the cryptocurrency industry, then more years laughing at it, describing the industry as nothing but a bunch of geeks playing with magic internet money. But as the threat has gotten way stronger than they expected, we've entered the then they fight you phase, where they use every weapon in their arsenal to keep the industry from growing further. But like the saying, Yusko believes it's only a matter of time before we win. Here are more clips from the interview.
A triple entry accounting, right, which is what a blockchain is, disrupts the trust industry. We no longer have to pay the Medicis or the Morgans or the Rothschilds to make sure that the ledgers match, because we have a third ledger that says Mark lent Lark $100. And I can't go change it. You can't go change it. Mm-hmm. It is permanent, immutable truth. And truth beats trust, because trust costs us 7 trillion with a T, right? Remember, 1 trillion is $1 a second for 31,710 years. It's a lot of money. So 7 of those babies every single year get spent. Banks, brokerage, insurance companies, title companies, all of the trust industry. And you know what? They like it because that's their revenue. But now blockchain and Bitcoin in particular blows that up. And that 6 to 8% of GDP now gets liberated. Right? In Portugal, I was on, Avenida de Liberdade, right? Which is they were celebrating their liberty from Spain. But this liberates us from this 800-year-old oppression from originally the Knights Templar and the Order of Christ through the Rothschild, Medicis, then the Rothschilds, and now the Morgans. And that's pretty cool. And that 6 to 8% of GDP, as it gets liberated, it will get reinvented. And creators will create more, and builders will build more, and we'll see things that weren't possible in the past because we had to spend so much money on this frictional cost of verifying trust. The big four, JP Morgan, Citi, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo were shaking in their boots as the assets were leaving their walls because they were paying 0 interest. And at Celsius or BlockFi or Voyager, you could get 6 to 8%. Everybody says, oh, but they screwed up. Yep, you know what? Celsius, Voyager screwed up Ponzi with their own token. Okay, that was stupid. That's like an algorithmic stablecoin. It's an oxymoron. It doesn't exist. BlockFi didn't do that. Did they not have enough adult supervision in managing their loan book, and they had too much exposure to FTX, which turned out are criminals, right? They're just criminals. BlockFi is a victim, not a perpetrator. They're a victim, and there are other victims, but they were on a path to disrupting the depository institutions that we all hold dear. And guess what? They didn't like it. And so now there's a massive grab. And is it shocking to anybody that Larry Fink, after 3 years ago, when I was talking about buy Bitcoin, he was on TV saying it's a Ponzi, it's a fraud, you should run away, you should be afraid of it. Now he goes on and said, you should probably think about it because it's a good way to protect your assets against devaluation.
During his interview with Davis, Yusko makes a brilliant observation, which serves as a perfect response for naysayers predicting that Bitcoin will eventually drop to zero. The hedge fund manager points out that no technological advancement has been returned to the bottle despite the many protests and efforts of people who wanted these advancements killed. Examples include the horse and buggy industry against automobiles and, more recently, the efforts of the telecommunications industry against Skype. They all railed and fought, but the bigger invention won. And this is exactly what will happen with the traditional finance industry and blockchain technology. What are your thoughts on Mark Yusko's interview? Please drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out our other videos from Yusko and other prominent members of the cryptocurrency industry. Thanks for watching.